Imagine this, the most influential player of all time, 4-time NBA champion, 2 MVPs, and has broken over almost 25 NBA records. Hi, I'm Riley Smith, and I'm so excited to talk to you about the greatest player of all time, Stephen Curry. Let's start with our first point, which is Stephen Curry is the most influential player of all time. Before we start, a quote from an article titled Stephen Curry, the most influential basketball player of all time. Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, and LeBron James. All of those names come to mind when you think of the greatest basketball players. However, when the question turns to who is the most influential player of all time, there is only one name that comes to mind: Stephen Curry. This is important because all the all-time greats have not changed the game like Curry has, and this says a lot about him as a player. Since Steph has entered the league, how has the game itself changed? So this article does a great job of emphasizing how the game has changed since Steph Curry got drafted in 2009. So the volume of three-point shots has greatly increased since he entered the league. When he was drafted, the average number of three-point attempts per game was 18.1, and this number has almost doubled from 2009 to 2023. And it doubled to 35.2 three-point attempts, which this says a lot about his impact on the game. But not only has he changed the game, but he has also changed the game's culture. Before Steph Curry signed with Under Armour wasn't big in the basketball world. Now it's next on the list with Nike. This isn't by chance. Kids and players and people want to be like Steph Curry, and they do this and they buy his gear. So moving on to our last bullet point of this one, it is how has anyone else influenced the game like he has? Simple answer, no one has changed the game like Steph Curry has. Once again, he's broken over 25 NBA records, and he has the title of the greatest shooter of all time. The numbers don't lie. He's made an impact on the game and the culture unlike any other player has ever done. Now moving on to our second point, Steph Curry leaves a greater legacy than LeBron. What way to argue that Steph Curry is the greatest player of all time than comparing him to other greats? An article titled Stephen A. Smith says Steph Curry's legacy is better than LeBron's for one reason. It states, Jordan stayed, Steph Curry stayed. They built around Jordan, they built around Steph Curry. This wasn't the case with Kevin Durant and LeBron James, and this statement really allows us to see how Curry's team revolves around him, unlike the other greats. So let's start with titles without help. So Steph Curry has won NBA titles with little help, unlike other greats. For example, LeBron James had to go to another team and get help from Anthony Davis before he was able to get an NBA title, while that's not the case with Steph. While other greats have gotten drafted to a team without a big name, while other greats have gotten drafted to a team with a big name, Stephen Curry had to build a name for himself and for his team. He proved that he could win titles and even be on a team that wasn't known for being great. Now, what will be talked about when they retire? There's a lot you can say about so many players when they retire, but Curry has changed the game. He's won on his own. He's made a name for his team and himself, which is undebatable, and that's something you cannot say about the others. Now, moving on to our last point, let's take a deeper dive into his statistics. So, a quote from an article titled Stephen Curry Statistics states, in 2016 to 2017, Curry led the NBA in three-point field goals made for a fifth straight season as the Warriors again led the NBA wins. Although many other parts of Curry's game has made him great, the major one is his ability to shoot. When you think of Steph Curry, you think of three-point shooting. He has broken so many shooting records. For example, he leads the NBA in most made threes. His ability to come back from injuries after he had a knee injury that only allowed him to play 51 games during the 2017-2018 season, he later returned and led the Golden State Warriors to win their fourth consecutive conference championship and their third NBA title. Having the ability to lead your team to the NBA Finals is difficult enough, but being able to do that right after coming back from an injury is unrealistic. But Steph has spent most of his career doing the unrealistic, which says a lot about how he is as a player. Now, his absence and his present, how that impacts the team. Like we've talked about the whole time, he's made a huge impact on the team and the game. The Golden State Warriors suffer without him. Even when he is unable to play, he has such a leadership position on the team. When he isn't present, the dynamic of the team is completely thrown off. So, in conclusion, Stephen Curry is arguably one of the greatest players of all time. Today, we took a deeper look into his impact on the team, his impact on the game, his stats, and compared him to some of the other greatest basketball players in history. After evaluating these things, it is clear that Stephen Curry is the greatest basketball player of all time. Thank you for listening.